Business news: NNPC Gas Marketing Limited, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, is set to acquire 5.2 million standard cubic feet per day compressed natural gas compression and refueling facility from Gas Network Services Limited. This was disclosed in a merger and acquisition notice issued by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. The acquisition aligns closely with the objectives of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, and that's a PCNGI, launched in August 2023. The initiative is to expand Nigeria's CNG infrastructure and improve access to cleaner energy alternatives. By acquiring the facility, NGML aims to bolster its role in the marketing and distribution of natural gas across the country. The transaction is expected to strengthen the CNG market by increasing infrastructure capacity, making the market more accessible and affordable, particularly for the transport and commercial sectors. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation has commenced the payment of 46.6 billion naira as the first tranche of the liquidation dividends to depositors of the defunct Heritage Bank, whose funds exceeded the maximum insured limit of 5 million naira. The corporation announced this in a statement issued by its acting head of communications and public affairs, Awao Gambo. According to the corporation, the payment of the first tranche of the liquidation dividends started on Friday, April 25, 2025, aimed at ensuring that eligible depositors of the closed bank are adequately reimbursed. It urged depositors whose balances exceeded 5 million naira and who were yet to receive their first tranche of liquidation dividends to contact the corporation. Fitch Ratings has upgraded the long-term foreign and local currency issuer default ratings of Kaduna, Kogi, Lagos, and Oyo states from B to B, B- to B, reflecting improved macroeconomic stability and policy reforms in Nigeria. Following the upgrade of the Nigeria's sovereign credit from B- to B, the Global Ratings Agency noted that the outlook for all the four states remains stable. According to the agency, the sovereign ratings upgrade has been mirrored in the states, given the role of the federal government in Nigeria's intergovernmental fiscal framework. The federal government controls the equalization mechanism enacted through a system of transfers to states. Upgrade of sovereign IDRs is mirrored in the upgrade of those of Kaduna, Kogi, Lagos, and Oyo, and their standalone credit profiles align with the above ratings of Nigeria. The IMF World Bank spring meetings held the past week and had different country leaders in attendance as key issues affecting the global economy were raised at this gathering. I had an interactive session with an economist, research professor, Dr. Andrew Nevin, on our Business Nigeria flagship program. He discussed pertinent issues on growth of the Nigerian economy, including the relationship between the central bank and the Ministry of Finance.
The separation, for me, when I learned about the separation and arriving in the country, I was a bit surprised. It struck me it must be done for, in a sense, to create another ministerial portfolio. So the fact that there's greater coordination, and particularly I think the relationship between the central bank and the Ministry of Finance is really excellent right now, and they're working very well together. And of course, there was always this talk about is fiscal policy and monetary policy coordinated, and I think Nigeria is in a much better place right now. And it really does help having such two really professional, economic, finance literate people in post who genuinely want to do the right thing for Nigeria. So I do think it's working much better.
Moving on now, Asian shares market made gains today while the dollar heated as confusion over the United States policy showed little sign of easing. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside Japan edged up 0.1%. Japan's Nikkei rose 0.4%, while South Korea's firmed 0.2%. Chinese blue chips were little change as officials stuck with the economic growth projections despite the drag by tariffs. Euro Stock 50 futures added 0.2%. FTSE futures and DAX futures both rose 0.1%. On the other way, S&P 500 futures dipped 0.5%. Nasdaq futures eased 0.6%. S&P had bounced almost 12% from April's 8th trough, but remains 10% below its peak. Britain's National Grid says it had filed a 3-year rate plan proposal with the New York Public Service Commission for its upstate New York electric and natural gas distribution business. If the proposed plan is approved, residential electricity consumers using an average of 625 kilowatt-hour per day per month bills will rise by $14.32 in the first year and $6.44 in the second year and $4.34 in the third year. According to the National Grid, this will run from May 2025 to March 2028, which includes a return on equities of 9.5% and capital investments of $1.43 billion in electricity and a $351 million in gas for NEMOs in the first year. Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation, which serves 1.7 million electric and 600,000 gas consumers, represents around 15% of National Grid's regulated assets base. It also includes more than $290 million in bill discounts and retirement of about 112 miles, 180 kilometers of leak-prone natural gas pipe in the next 3 years. A final decision from the Commission is expected in the next few months. And in more news, the Supreme Court of New South Wales has dismissed the case filed by Fonterra against Australians Beggar Cheese over trademark licensing agreements and the New Zealand's dairy firm divestment. Fonterra's Australian unit initiated proceeds against Beggar Cheese, seeking a ruling that its divestment proposal would not impact the existing trademark and the license agreement with the Australian cheese producer. Beggar Cheese and Fonterra are linked through trademark license arrangements, allowing Fonterra to use Beggar's trademarks on specific dairy products like cheese and butter. The executive chairman of Beggar Group, Barson Iveson, says the ruling may potentially delay Fonterra's proposed divestiture and complicates the potential change to the license deal between the two firms. Iveson hopes to work constructively with the group on the sales of its Oceania businesses. And crude oil prices in China today, though, remain dogged by uncertainty over trade talks between the United States and China. The situation is clouding outlook for global growth and fuel demand, while the expectations of OPEC Plus raising supply cast more gloom. Now, in the U.S., West Texas Intermediate crude rose to $63.17 per barrel with an upward review of 0.24%. Brent crude futures sells for $67 and is up 0.19%. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62 with a downward margin of 2.84%, and for the OPEC basket, dealers are offering $70.26 with an upward margin of 0.46%. That's business at this hour. Next is sports news. I'll see you at the top of the hour for Business Nigeria. Good afternoon.